Buenas, buenas. Welcome to IMSTA FESTA Online 2021. I'm Kevin Ochoa, and in this video class, we're going to be looking at two very special plugins. The first one being Comet, and the second one being I Wish from Infected Mushroom. So this is a collaborative plugin that Polyverse made with Infected Mushroom. So these are some very cool sound design oriented plugins. Comet is a very, malleable reverb, because you're able to switch between presets live, and you're also able to automate these parameters. So you're able to change the automation on the size and decay, color, and all these different parameters in real time. So you're able to change the room. So you can use this in movies and sound design and whatnot, even in music. It sounds very, very cool. And Infected Mushroom, I Wish, is a very time-saving plugin. And also a very creative plugin. So it's basically a wavetable synthesizer that allows you to sample your voice and turn it into wavetables, which then basically plays back in smaller grains depending on how you want it. So you have control over your pitch, LFO, envelopes, and of course it's controlled by MIDI. So you're also able to make choir sounds out of your voice. So I'm going to teach you guys how to use these plugins today. Let's start off with Comet, and then we're going to move on to I Wish. And let's play back this demo that I have. It's a psytrance track. It's like kind of based around mythical creatures in Harry Potter. I think I forgot to mention this in the other class, but basically I just did spoken word, and I turned all that spoken word into something that's a little bit more musical using I Wish and Manipulator. So if you guys want to check out Manipulator, make sure you guys look at the other class as well. So let's check this out.
Magical creatures on the loose. Magical creatures on the loose. Magical creatures on the loose. Magical creatures running fun everywhere. Wizards. Welcome to the Forbidden Forest.
All right, there we go. So that's our demo. As you guys saw, I clicked through various different instances of Comet that I have on the track, from effects to just simple reverbs to just a simple drum room. And then I also clicked on a few I wishes that I have in the track to alternate or change the way my vocal sounds. So if you guys saw the previous class that was on manipulator and gatekeeper, you guys learned that basically everything that's being processed here, all the vocals are my own, and they're either being run through manipulator or I Wish, or both together. In this section of the track, these are mostly processed with I Wish. However, there is one instance, I think earlier in the track, where I am using I Wish. So here we go. So that's a little section that I also use I Wish and manipulator together. But I wanted to focus on the other ones because they're just a little bit simpler to explain. We could probably look at this at the very end. But without further going any further, let's focus in a little bit on Comet. So here we have the Comet. As you can see, I'm automating some of these parameters here to create these really cool effects. And without this, this original sound sounds like this.
Magical creatures.
It complete sounds like it shouldn't be there. And that's like a reverse reverb I did, and then I added some distortion to it, and I processed it again with Comet to make it sound like this. To make it swoosh in. That's really, really cool. It doesn't sound like white noise, but it has that feature of white noise when it's swooping up. Then I have this as well, which is pretty much the similar process right there. Copy pasted. And then we end with another one that's a little bit different. That pitches up even higher. So we have some of this processing going on there. So I'm able to simply automate these parameters and play around with them to find out what sounds good and what not. But to understand what the plugin sounds like, I'll need to show you guys on drums so you guys get acquainted with it. So now I'll come up here to the bus, drum bus, and I'll add the Comet. And that's how it basically sounds right from the get-go, the basic preset. We have control over the size. And as you can see there, if I open up the spectrum analyzer, this is how I can create those pitching and swishing effects. See that? If I make the time shorter, because I'm making the time shorter, I'll be basically creating grains that are smaller, smaller, and smaller. And instead of letting them loop out long, like that, I have to bring them up. And as I bring them up, or make them smaller, they go up in pitch. See that? Now we have that change in pitch. Now if I do the opposite and make the decay long, and then I'll grab the size and make it go from small to large, we're going to get the pitching down effect. See that? Now we can go ahead and automate this throughout the track if we want, as I did it with the other effects. But let's go ahead and make this a bit more wet, and let's keep the decay relatively short. And the size as well. Actually, no, the size we'll keep it bigger. I want to show you one thing. This color and damping section over here. So here we have the high, the low, and the color. If I bring the color down, we get that typical nightclub sound effect of like when you're walking towards a nightclub or a place that has music. So you can create depth and distance using the color, simply just using color. If you want to modify the relationship between the damping and the high and the low frequencies, you can go ahead and do so. So let's damp the high end much more than the low. Now we get this really, really dark reverb. And this is really cool for when you're going to do like impact sound effects and whatnot, and you don't want nothing carrying on from the high end. So let's say you do have a pitch down effect on that impact kick, but you don't want to reverberate that. You can use this to remove the high end from the reverb signal. Now, if I wanted to do the opposite and apply a low damp, it's much more subtle, but you can hear how the low end gets nice and tight. So if you want to apply this reverb on leads, you might want to put this up to like 75% and just a little bit of high dampening. And you end up getting a different type of tonality out of it and keep the tightness that you want on the lead. Now there's this pre-delay over here, and I can quantize it if I like. I could also snap it on. So if I use my scroll wheel, it will stay snapped. So let's set it to 1/8 at first. We can make the size and the decay short. We get this rhythmic delay. And we make this longer. We make this rhythmic reverb that can play along better with melodies or certain delays that you might have. Let's go ahead and remove the pre-delay and let's just set it to, let's do 11 milliseconds. If I go to the diffusion tab right here, check this out. I can basically have lots of early reflections and then fade them out. Likewise with the detune. I'm able to add this chorus effect to the actual reverb itself, so there's modulation on what you're putting inside of the preset. Now, on top of this, what I can do is also automate these parts right here. So if I were to want to automate from a few different presets, I could do so. Let's go to MIDI write mode over here, and then I'm just gonna clap between these as the track plays along. All right, let's close the write mode, and now we're gonna see that there's automation right here, and you could play around along with this yourself and use the tools that you have available in your DAW and just move them up and down, like so. All right, so you're able to do that, and it works great, fantastic when you're applying it to these effects over here. Let's solo this and remove this alert comment on the drum bus. Okay, let's go back to the reverb one, or the reverb effects one, and let's solo this, and let's make it a little loop right there. And what I'll do is I'll simply go ahead and mute that comment and set a secondary comment. And we'll just simply automate from a longer reverb like this to a shorter one, like so. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this back. All right, let's check this out. Cool. Now, if I were to move that throughout time, it's going to change our effect. You see how it like even pitches back up once you hop back into the other preset all the way down here, even though the audio clip has been, finished, basically. That's really, really amazing. You could, of course, if you want to do a little bit of more hectic automation, you could do so. Let's try it out. Up, down, and we'll finish up right there. Let's give it a shot. That's pretty amazing. Let's check it out. That's actually quite interesting because that little change actually helped the rhythm flow out of the side chaining instruments on over here before. So it's actually quite interesting because we do get that build up. Into the big impact, and then we get this little sidechain style effect. That's just a few ideas you can have to play around with Comet. I would play around with it, try on the drums, get used to it, and then start to apply it on reverb effects like this. All right, let's move over to I Wish, which is a very cool plugin. And in this case, I use it to create these vocals right here, or vocal pads, I should say. Okay, so how did I create these? Well, it's quite simple. I grabbed a piece of audio. In this case, it was this vocal over here. I tried to hit the notes as best as I could. And then I let Manipulator do the rest of the correction on my voice. And once I did that, I rendered it out, copied and pasted it all these times right there. You see that? It's over and over again. Let me turn off I Wish. And that's before I Wish. Once I added I Wish, I added the second layer of chords to create like a little choir effect. And it's what it sounds like. Oh, of course I have to turn on the MIDI. Don't forget that you have to write the MIDI and send that MIDI over to your audio channel with your I Wish. So in this case, my track is I Wish instrument 3, and the insert is 3, right? So that's the MIDI input for the I Wish on here. And then to activate it, it simply does it automatically. You can also click right here, go through some of the presets and see what fits your track. But make sure you have that turned on, or else you're not gonna get any audio. So there I did two things that I could not do with my own voice, which is create a harmony. That would be very difficult for me. And the other thing was add that the vibrato, which I cannot do because I can't even hold a pitch, let alone try to make a vibrato. Okay, that'd be too much for me. So what I did then was I grabbed the I Wish, and let me open the section right here where the filter's opened. So now that we have the unfiltered vocals here, I usually try to play a little bit behind so that we give I Wish time to pick up some audio. And as you can see here, let me grab a couple analyzers and this little guy that I really like. Basically, what you'll see is that iWish is retaining a little cycle of the audio you're putting into it. And it's repeating it over and over again. Now, a cool trick to make the regeneration of this cycle a little bit more musical is copy and pasting. And now if I use this 16 notes, what will happen is that the cycle will refresh more often. So while the pitch is retained, the tonality of what you're playing back is a little bit different, or the timbre is a little bit different, because we're essentially creating a wavetable out of this one little tiny cycle. If I open up the stethoscope again, you see very clearly how now we're using different periods of time. If I were to just move them a tiny bit over, the tiniest bit, let's say there, it's going to sound different. And if I were to chop this up, and put a copy of it right there, let's just make sure that it's not overlapping. I can create a different variation on this. And we can change the polyphony here if we want to. We can have, let's say, monophonic. So this is going to turn this into a monophonic sequence. Say we wanted to play legato. We can do so as well. Let's set it to 8th notes, though. Or 8 voices of polyphony, though. And that sounds fantastic. So basically, even if you're not exactly on pitch, iWish will get you on pitch and allow you to create little choir sounds out of you, or organ type sounds if you like. Or in the case of the little chipmunks that I showed you earlier, the little elf chipmunk thingies, or use words and rechange the melodies on them. So that's really, really cool. Again, these sound like nothing like this. Let's turn off the iWish. This is what it sounded like before.
Fairies. Griffins.
And we made a musical by using iWish.
Griffins.
And if you make your selection or your cutting much more detailed, you're able to make these much more fine adjustments and more natural sounding chops. So you're basically regenerating the wavetable much, much quicker. So you're actually able to hear the human voice. So let me change this a few notes up there.
Griffins. Griffins.
And that, sounds drastically different while still sounding relatively human.
Griffins.
Let's go over here. Also take into consideration that I've already mangled this voice quite a bit. First of all, I pitched my voice as high as I could, and then I pitched it up further with Manipulator. Then I used iWish. So if you throw in an actual singer, it's going to sound much, much better. The thing about this is that it sounds great even though it sounds robotic. In my case. And then you can create these really cool sound effects here where your voice is granularly stretching like so. And this is achieved by modulation. So besides having the semitones and the form and shifting here available to us, which we haven't even gone into yet. We've only talked about the musical stuff with changing audio and moving MIDI around. But now if you actually want to get into the GUI and the LFO and the envelope, you can do pretty cool things. So let's take a look at this. So as you saw there, I'm automating the pitch. Let's open up my automation lane right here. See there? I'm automating that pitch. I could do the same move, but push it up higher. And do these crazy sound effects. Now remember that because the granular synth is holding on to the last bit of notes, what I did here was I did that really choppy technique, and then after that I held it. And that's how we can get the voice to hold on. Now what I'll do is I can use an X fade right here to soften up the voice. See how that sounds a bit too aggressive? I can smooth it out right here. I had it somewhere around 30-40%. The other thing is you can use an LFO if you like. In my case, I'm also automating the LFO here because I do use it down the road over here. Let's go back to the other vocal because we're going to be able to do that a little bit easier. So let's grab the I Wish once again, and I'll grab the LFO. Okay, so basically you're going to use this green line to set your semitones. If you press shift, you can go between those semitones. So if you only want a tiny bit of modulation, let's say I wanted it to have 1/3 of a semitone, somewhere around there. Now you sound like an auto-tune synthesizer. There's different waveforms or wave shapes for the LFO right there. There's also an envelope that works just as well as like the LFO, and you can modulate that. As you can see, this is how I'm actually getting the pitch up effect at the end of the bar. I'm using this pitch envelope there. There's also a wet parameter here, so you can change the wetness of your vocal, but you might not want to use that sometimes. Oh, come on, playback. So, use that wisely. If you're able to keep pitch yourself, yes. If you're not, you might not want to do it. So, there's also the amp envelope here, and you can apply this the same curve to this. So, let's say I want to make a longer pad, I can do so. Sorry, this is the format envelope. I forgot. So this is the sending to the format. As you can see here, the color is orange. Over here, the color is green. So there we go. The actual volume envelope is done over here. So let's make that smoothen out. And now you do get the smooth pad synthesizer built-in that you typically would see in a synth. Alright, and with this, we're going to wrap up the class. I hope you enjoyed it, and that you learned a lot about Comet, and I Wish from Infected Mushroom and Polyverse. Once again, thank you for being here with us at IMSTA FESTA 2021. Make sure you check out all the other great gear, great plugins, great software that we have here available on IMSTA FESTA. Also, check out the seminars and other songwriting competitions we have here. Once again, I'm Kevin Ochoa, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.